19.3 million people. 19.3 million people watched the Game of Thrones series finale, The Iron Throne. That is a number that will most likely never be touched again, outside of the Super Bowl anyway. After 8 years, 8 seasons, and 73 episodes, we finally got to see the on-screen version of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire culminate in a huge send-off. Unfortunately, much like all of Season 8, the series finale went out less like a bang and more like a wet fart. It's been heavily criticized by everyone and their mama since 2019 when it aired, and almost 5 years later, the showrunners, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, are addressing their most outspoken critics. I'm Troy from Marks on TV, and today we're traveling into the past to revisit Season 8 of one of the most popular shows of all time, Game of Thrones, and what the showrunners have to say about it all these years later. Now, on with the story. The link to the article I'm covering can be found in the video description. Game of Thrones showrunners address internet backlash to Season 8. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss have steered clear of online criticism for years. The final season of Game of Thrones was easily the most talked about batch of episodes of the series, with showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss reflecting on how they had to stop looking at reactions to the series on the internet, knowing just how damaging it would be to see so much vitriolic criticisms. The HBO series was a popular topic on social media from its debut season, with the popularity of various social media platforms causing more passionate debates about the project, which also grew alongside the more shocking reveals in the series and the impact they had on viewers. I'm not going to criticize D&D too much for avoiding vitriol on social media. Social media is mostly vitriolic. You can't please everyone. And when you've got such a large, passionate fan base, as Game of Thrones did, you're going to have a lot of very strong opinions from people. Some of their opinions may be warranted and justified, but you're also going to just get a bunch of wackos that just want to vent their nutty frustrations from behind the safety of a keyboard in their mom's basement.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
Either way, my point is that it's sometimes hard to find the nugget of wisdom in a giant pile of crap spread all over places like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Quote, "You always hope everyone's going to love anything you do, and it would have been great if 100% of people loved it, but they didn't," Benioff confessed to The Hollywood Reporter of online backlash to Season 8.
Are you happy with how things ended?
Yeah.
She didn't say yes. You didn't say yes.
Best season ever!
Quote, "You can get so bogged down in public opinion that you spend your whole life Googling things and trying to find people who felt one way or the other way," end quote. Weiss added, quote, "Even super positive feedback makes you feel weird and teeth-grindy and on edge. There's a drug quality to the feedback, and as soon as we went cold turkey, the last time I Googled myself was in 2013, the ambient stress level in our lives dropped by about 50% overnight," end quote.
I am so ready.
This hits back to my earlier point about overwhelming amounts of feedback, good or bad. They're 100% right. I've got to give them that, at least. Did I think that their work on the final few seasons was subpar, to say the least?
If you could describe the season finale of Game of Thrones in one word, how would you describe it?
Disappointing.
Absolutely. But when you're the showrunners of, at the time, one of the most popular series in the world, you've got to chill out and not be so obsessed with what everyone says about you online. Whereas some creators engage with fans on social media, either to express empathy over negative reactions or to defend their work, the outlet noted how, even if they privately agree with a Thrones criticism, they feel it wouldn't benefit themselves, HBO, or the thousands of others who worked on the show to say so.
Are you all happy with the way with the outcome of the show? Personally,
Another observation the filmmakers made is that while audiences are quick to be more antagonistic on the internet, and the more vocal groups can make it seem like they're in the majority, the in-person engagements they have with fans are far more positive.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Quote, "There's an underlying decency when people acknowledge you as a person and vice versa," Weiss pointed out. Quote, "There's something that happens in the transition from human interaction to online that pushes things in a specific aggro direction," end quote. That's also true. Most people who are complete Richards to you online aren't going to be so nasty to your face. Again, they're not safe and warm behind their keyboards, and most people tend to avoid awkward situations IRL. In that same vein, however, when you're getting overwhelming criticism, even online, and some of it is clearly written or voiced in good faith, maybe you should acknowledge that something on your end should probably change.
There are no better writers in television than Dan Weiss and David Benioff. They ended it brilliantly, better than I could have imagined, and you people are in for it.
Hell, even the actors of the show were not so shy about how much they hated the final season, and specifically the two-part series finale. The outlet noted, while Weiss recently rewatched the series, Benioff has not returned to Westeros since the series finale. It's not been confirmed 100%, but it was a strong rumor that seems pretty plausible anyway, that D&D were really trying to wrap Game of Thrones up quickly in the final season so that they could go off to direct a Star Wars movie. That Star Wars movie, like many, many projects under Kathleen Dreamkiller Kennedy, was scrapped and D&D wasted their freaking time.
Make it my name! Make it my name!
They even condensed Thrones Season 8 into a shorter season to get it over with quicker. No one, besides maybe Sansa, had a very satisfying ending from the fans' perspective, nothing wrapped up in a positive way, or even in a downer Game of Thrones style way. It was all a mess, and nothing really made sense. Now, to be fair, I can't lay 100% of the blame of this at the feet of Benioff and Weiss. George R.R. Martin wrote the last book in A Song of Ice and Fire series, A Dance with Dragons, back in 2011. That means he has been working on the next book, The Winds of Winter, for almost 13 years.
Do you have an update on The Winds of Winter? It's the same update I've been giving for a long time. I continue to work on it. It continues to get longer and longer. Stuff happens. It's in progress. I'm working on it. I'm creeping forward.
After that, he's got to wrap up the entire series with A Dream of Spring. Benioff and Weiss caught up with the book series by season 6, which is when you start to see a visible drop in writing quality.
You know, if you've planned your book that the butler did it, and then you read an internet, someone has figured out that the butler did it, and you suddenly change in midstream and it was the chambermaid who did it, then you screw up the whole book. You have to introduce other clues and you're retconning. It's a mess.
If Martin had actually finished the books as he was expected to, then maybe the showrunners and writers wouldn't have had to 100% wing it and piss everyone off. Either way, what's done is done, and we've now got the awesome House of the Dragon to keep us happy. So far, it's been written with the quality of Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 5, and not Game of Thrones seasons 6 through 8. To end this video, I've got one thing to say about the final season of Game of Thrones.
Dracarys.
Comment with your thoughts on the Game of Thrones. Did you notice a dip in quality once they caught up with the book series? Did you still enjoy the show right up until the end? Do you blame the showrunners, the writers, George R.R. Martin, or a combo of people for how it all ended? And do you like A Song of Ice and Fire book series? Let me know down in the comment section. Also, please share this video around everyone you know, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that little bell to be notified every time we post brand new content. I've been Troy from Marks on TV, and we'll see you next time.